Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, we'll go over the market, go over what has happened so far, and what a wild, quite a wild day for Tesla, but hopefully nothing too unexpected as we have been talking about this for a while now. It was just a matter of patience as it usually is in the market, right? But all that being said and done, we are going to jump into it. Again, this is not financial advice. Don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed the video. Again, I'm not a financial advisor. This is, just entertainment. Do your own research, all that stuff. You guys know the drill. But moving right into it, Tesla is going to be down, closing in about 13 minutes or so. But Tesla will be down pretty much almost 11% on the day after earnings, which is quite astronomical, of course. Pretty sizable move. I think we can all agree on that. And I think it's pretty easy to say that it is just slightly underperforming the market today. But that is going to be putting us at about $161.50 per share, which compared to yesterday's close at 180 is obviously a pretty sizable drop. But what does this mean? Where are we going? Are we going even lower? Is this the bottom? What's next, right? I mean, okay, so we've talked about this move for so long. We've been waiting for this move for so long. We've been just patiently waiting. We talked about how there is still technically a possibility to 200, but as you guys know that are actually following and actually listening, as opposed to listening for 1 minute and then assuming, the end result or something like that. We always talked about how even if there's any upside movement, we always said this, if there is any upside movement still, even over here, we talked about how 200 is still technically in play. We always said the risk versus reward is still quite poor, right? We always talked about that. And this is why, because again, in my opinion, I've always said how I personally believe 200 most likely will be the high point, if even that. But if you're risking all that versus potentially the massive fall that can happen from this level, in my opinion, it's not worth it. And this is exactly why. But with that being said and done, moving forward, what does this mean? Where are we going from here? So the one thing that's not ideal for sure is the fact that we are, let me go ahead and go the Bollinger Band, right? So first of all, I mean, the good thing, I guess, is the fact that the Bollinger Band now obviously is, as we talked about the massive move, is substantially expanding. And it's going to be trying to catch up to us here now. The one thing that's not great, however, is the fact that we are actually closing below this kind of 167 to 170 kind of ish level. Essentially, the level that these two candles right here found some pretty substantial support and bounced off of right here, right? The fact that we are closing below that overall level is not good. And the reason it's not good is because under this level, and especially if you lose 160, there doesn't feel like there's that much support, right? There's technically support at 155. It will be the next level, which I should probably have a line for, honestly. So let's go ahead and put one together, right? But other than 155, the next level is without question that, dreaded, I mean, quote unquote, dreaded 145-ish level, which is that pretty much that gap that we've been talking about, that Fibonacci retracement level we've been talking about, right? All of these levels that we've been talking about pretty much for the majority of this consolidation that we've been just kind of patiently waiting, patiently discussing. Everyone kept telling me 240s next, 260s next, Tesla's going to moon. People were saying how, last time everyone thought Tesla was going to fall based on earnings, but not for some reason now it's not, when just they completely just casually forget the fact that Tesla was trading. We talked about this a few videos ago, by the way, how Tesla was trading at 144 as opposed to, for the previous earnings, as opposed to this earnings, which is at 180. It's like a 25 or so % difference. Guys, it's not just that simple, right? But regardless, the point is the fact that, this is also another major level. We talked about the 618 level being, the 140 kind of 6, give or take, 145 to 150-ish level, which is, of course, the gap fill roughly as well. So that right there is pretty much what I'll be personally waiting for right now. Again, it's not that I'm just waiting for it. I have absolutely been doing cash secured puts, especially today on this fall. I've done quite a decent amount of cash secured puts for end of next month, May 19th, I've sold a fair amount of cash secured puts, and on my second smaller account, I have started actually buying shares. I bought about a third of that account's total amount of money, I guess that was cash, as shares today, pretty much right before the market, market hasn't closed yet, but right before I started recording the video, pretty much at $161.7, actually literally what it is right now. Is where I bought shares, a third of what that account can buy. And of course, I'll continue buying as we continue following. Next level will probably be like 155-ish. And then of course, I'll buy the remainder probably around this kind of 146-ish level and hopefully when we do get there. But I also have cash secured puts at many increments. I do have some that are of course now considered, in the money, and I am technically down on, but I'm perfectly okay with that. But I have, for instance, I have one that I did do at 180, then I have like a couple more at 170s, then I have like one at 167, then I sold a bunch at 155, right? So I have, and then I have a bit more at 150, and I still have a few more left that I'm ready to do some cash secured puts as well on. But I've been patiently waiting for this, and I am going honestly, in my opinion, fairly aggressive here on this kind of sizable move, mainly because I do not only expect a bounce relatively soon, but with that being said, I do think we are ultimately still going to go lower. I still don't think this is the bottom. I'm personally still like waiting, like really patiently waiting for 150 to 145. Like that to me is like the sweet spot. It can absolutely go lower, and if it does, that won't be ideal, especially if it goes lower than like 135-ish, I would say. If it goes even lower than 135, that's really bad for the bulls. That's going to potentially throw out this bullish situation that we have potentially still forming overall, because again, as we talked about this before, I personally strongly believe that Tesla has actually reversed the bear trend and is actually in a bull trend. Just my opinion, of course, right? Keep that in mind. But I personally do believe that. And the reason I believe that is because as Tesla rallied from this area here, it actually went above 200, which to me was an absolutely critical level, signaling a potential overall trend reversal, which obviously we did break. And the reason was because this level right here was the swing high into the swing low. And then we made a swing high higher than this level here. And as long as number one, don't go lower than 106. That's the most important. But as long as we also have the Fibonacci retracement that we just talked about, the 618 level, hold, that to me will be actually quite bullish. That will be phenomenal. That'll be fantastic news. And that's personally what I am hoping for. So again, I personally expect a bounce potentially just literally because it's just so, I wouldn't say it's oversold, but like on the 1 hour, it's definitely oversold. But I do expect a potential bounce from here. But even if we do get a bounce, and even if we somehow, miraculously go back to 180 for gap fill, which I don't know if we will, honestly, but assuming we do, whatever the case may be, I personally still believe that there is still more downside left. I think that we're still going to go down to the very least 155, if not, honestly, my main target being 146. Also because the SPY is, the thing is keep in mind, once this SPY decides to finally exit out of this little, these two blue lines, if you will, and once it starts to finally, descend from here and fall from here, that's going to put more pressure on Tesla, right? Keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that will put more pressure on Tesla. So just, always never forget that kind of stuff. But from here, honestly, it's only about another 10% move to the downside before it hits my personal main price target that I'm also really substantially hoping overall obviously holds. Now, the one thing we should also pay attention to is the fact that we have actually dropped below the 100-day moving average. So below the 100, we're below the 200-day moving average, which is well above us to the point where I'm not even going to look at it anymore because it's irrelevant for now. And instead, what we're going to do is we're going to add the 50-day moving average here and take a look at where that bad boy is. And you can see it's also substantially well above us as well. So we're pretty much below the 50, the 100, and the 200-day moving averages. We're below the 21 EMA. We're below all these bad boys, right? We're below the 10-day moving average, obviously. So it's obviously short term, a bearish trend, unquestionably, as I'm sure it's quite obvious even from today's movement. But again, even though I do expect the bounce just from the simple sake of potentially just being oversold at this current level, at least for now, off of such a massive move, usually you get at least some kind of dead cat bounce. It's very common. I still believe that there is further downside left, and I still personally will be waiting for about 145, 150-ish levels. And then from there, we'll have to see. It's extremely important to see how Tesla will react to that 150, 145-ish level. Extremely important, extremely crucial, and it is going to be essentially where these bad boys had found, and this one right here had found resistances, where this candle actually found some support, and I'm really hoping that it does hold right there. And you can see TSLQ obviously breaking out, and I think it potentially will go all the way up to as high as about 58 to 60, which will pretty much bring Tesla, like we talked about just now, to around that 146-ish level, give or take. But that is kind of what I'm seeing at the moment. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you think down below. The VIX is finally getting some life into it, but still looking extremely weak for the most part. So it kind of sucks. I mean, thankfully, Tesla's volatility is still pretty high. So even though I'm selling cash secured puts, it would be nicer if the VIX was higher. But because of this major movement to the downside, it's still not that bad. But all that being said, that's kind of what I'm seeing, ladies and gentlemen. Again, at the moment, no obvious signs of reversal. We probably will get at least somewhat of a dead cat bounce, but I don't expect it to be anything more than that. Maybe get a bit of a bounce from here, but ultimately make our way even lower. And then until I see an actual true reversal trend or sign or something like that, I will of course let you guys know as per usual. But as of right now, nothing is signaling that whatsoever. In fact, it actually does still look bearish, and it still looks like there is overall, doesn't have to be tomorrow, doesn't have to be Friday, but overall more room to the downside before we can get a true bottom and a true reversal. But all that being said and done, thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you for the next one. Peace.